Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome NATCA President Paul Rinaldi.
Thank you. The largest safety conference in the world. How special is that? It took us 18 months this time because we had to move CFS to the fall to get it away from our convention, because it has grown to be such a magnificent conference that it takes all of our staff and all of our volunteers to focus on this event. And thank you to Steve Hansen for his commitment to making CFS the best it could possibly be, for his commitment to aviation safety in this country, and his commitment to our union. He has gone through a roller coaster, and he has still stayed focused on what is important, and it's aviation safety. And these banners that are on the wall here, they actually mean something to every one of us in this room, and we believe that it is in our DNA. We take a stand for safety and professionalism and pride in our profession. So thank you for being here. This is a very important conference. And he did mention that there was an election. Many of you probably don't know that, but yeah, you got me for 3 more years. You have Trish Gilbert. You have Trish Gilbert for 3 more years, and I say thank God for that. But we have 7 new RVPs, and we're happy to have them, and I'd like to introduce them to the CFS audience to make you know who they are. Just a random order, we'll start with New England region, Mick Devine. Please stand. Mick. Eastern region, Rich Santa. Southern region, Jim Marinetti. Southwest region, Andrew Lebovich. Great Lakes region, Drew McQueen. Central region, Aaron Merrick. Northwest Mountain region, Eddie Delisle. I hope you're all in the room. I think you are. I could see you standing back there. Alaska region, Clint Lancaster. And Western Pacific region, Joel Ortiz. Trish and I are so excited to have this NEB to face all the challenges we're going to face in the next 3 years, and to set our union and our system, aviation system, on the path to move forward. And they'll have your back, we have your backs, and you have our backs, and we thank you so much for that. Thank you, guys. You know, a lot has happened in 18 months in aviation. You know, and there's a bunch of things that kind of jump out. And I'm glad Steve actually, before aviation, I'm glad Steve talked about the Capitals winning the Stanley Cup here in Las Vegas. But because I didn't want to get booed, so don't boo me. I waited long enough for that, so don't boo me on that one. But in aviation, just think about what we've gone through. Devastating hurricanes, Maria, Irma, Harvey, this year with Matthew and Florence. Devastating wildfires in California. We've had a madman unload rounds into a crowd enjoying a Jason Aldean concert just a mile from here. And people were fleeing onto active runways for safety. That's how desperate they were to get away from the bullets. We had an emotionally disturbed individual steal an airplane at Seattle SeaTac, a Q400, I think it was. Go airborne with no intentions of landing safely. We've had so many situations like this throughout the last 18 months. And every time, the controllers, the pilots, the aviation professionals rise to the occasion with extreme calm, cool, collectiveness to attack the mission at hand. It's amazing. Just every time to keep the system running safely and orderly. That is a testament to every one of you in this room, and I thank you every day for what you do for our system. So thank you. There's been a lot of changes in aviation. You know, a lot of rulemaking. I heard Steve say we're going to be giving away a drone. But if you just look at the FAA rulings in the last 18 months with aviation, with drones when it comes to aviation, these things are going to be doing everything. From mosquito spraying in Florida to border surveillance in border surveillance in California to bringing me Perel when I need it on stage. There's a camera. Everybody stand and wave for CFS 2018. I needed this. But think about it. They will be flying over our heads, delivering us everything we want, whether it's food, whether it is our packages to the door, whether it is a beer on the 14th hole because you're too far away from the clubhouse and you really need a beer. That's going to be our reality. They're already testing it and using it in so many different ways, whether it is looking at the tracks, railroad tracks in front of freight trains to make sure it is intact, to doing surveillance on our pipelines, to inspecting airplanes. You name it, these things are going to be flying and buzzing over our heads. It'll be interesting how the community and society complains about that noise. Think about it. So it's been an interesting 18 months. And we have so much work to do in front of us. The good news is, or I would say the unthinkable, because I have been coming up on this stage, was trying to count this morning, and I've watched this conference grow, and I've always come up on the stage and I've been talking about FAA reauthorization. And then in the spring, we always do our NATCA in Washington, we always talk about FAA reauthorization. And the unthinkable has happened. Congress passed FAA reauthorization, a 5-year bill. A 5-year bill. The first time since 1992 we have a 5-year bill. We've experienced 29 short-term extensions since 2007. And now to have a 5-year bill really gives us some stability and comfort that we actually need in setting the rules for aviation. But let's not think the discussion about reform is over because we have a 5-year FAA reauthorization bill. We need to find stable, predictable funding for our aviation system. With $21 trillion in debt, this country is. $1.5 trillion tax cut that this Congress passed. And last week, the president's demanding the cabinet secretaries to cut their agency spending by 5%. This certainly is a massive concern for every single one of us in the United States aviation world. Whether it is to streamline our airspace, implement new technologies, accommodate new users such as UAVs, train our new hired controllers, the demands are at an all-time high. With dwindling resources, it's going to be a major problem. The FAA has done a very good job of hitting the hiring goals in the last few years. However, staffing is still very short throughout many of our facilities. Training new controllers takes years. We roughly have about 10,500 certified professional controllers in the system, and about another 3,500 in some form of training. Training new controllers sometimes takes a back seat to training for implementation of new procedures and new equipment and new technologies, which impacts our ability to get healthy with our staffing. I would actually say we have reached the capacity with our human resources in the controller ranks. Many of our facilities are working mandatory overtime. Fatigue is setting in to our work environment. Budget cuts is the last thing we need right now. We need stable, predictable funding for our national airspace system. In the last 18 months, we've experienced 10 short-term funding extensions. 10. Think about that. Think about the absurdity of that. I could read off the dates if you want them. It's absurd. We've experienced 2 government shutdowns, albeit one was over the weekend, and we don't do much over the weekend, do we? It's not like we close on Friday at 5 and we don't come back until Monday at 9. And the other one was on the midnight shift. We don't do much on the midnight shift either, right? We close at 11 and come back at 5 or 6 in the morning. It's absurd what's going on, and it's got to change. Our current funding goes to December 7th. And why not? We're here in Vegas. We should put a bet on it. It's a good bet we will experience a government shutdown this year. Pending the outcome of the midterm elections, you could already see positional Democrats and positional Republicans trying to figure out what they want. And you could already see the White House saying he's not going to sign anything unless he gets the money for the wall. I don't know who's going to give in, but I think we're heading for a shutdown. This just adds layers of confusion to a system that is running on a shoestring right now. It's completely unacceptable. Sometimes controllers and the FAA feel like we're taking one step forward and 2 steps back. It's no way to operate a dynamic, demanding aviation system, one that is our economic engine in this country, a cornerstone of our economy. Over 5% to our gross domestic product every year, 11 million well-paying jobs, $1.6 trillion into our economy every year. Our national airspace system generates over $15 billion into the Aviation Airways Trust Fund every year. That's a good way to fund this system if we can get Congress out of it. We need to start addressing our aging infrastructure, and this cannot be done with the stop-and-go fundings that we face today. And in essence, that's why we're here today, to have an open, clear dialogue of what the issues are, to address the problems ahead. The one unique thing about communicating for safety, we don't craft anybody's messages in this conference. Trish and I participate in a lot of aviation conferences around the world, and it is very structured on what you're going to say and where you're going to say it. Not here. We want the truth. Because our aviation world is changing, and brothers and sisters and ladies and gentlemen, the future is here. We have talked about it for years. Me, on stage, here, saying these drones are going to be flying. Rockets are going to be launching. Aircraft demand is going to be up. Controller shortage is coming. Our buildings are getting older. Our equipment is aging. Can't keep up with the demands. The future is now, and we need a reliable funding stream. Not only a funding stream, we need to streamline our requirements procurement process to get modern technology to our controllers to meet the demands of the skies today and in the future. Aviation needs to be properly funded to meet these demands. We, the stakeholders in this room, need to collaboratively work together to solve these problems. Every single one of us need to find common ground, set aside our parochial positions, our headline rhetoric that is simply not true, such as, I'm going to call everybody out, so I'm not picking on anybody, but such as if the airlines are on a governing board, GA won't have access to the airspace. That's simply not true. Or such as, if we implement NextGen, passengers won't experience any more passenger delays. That's simply not true. Or, tracking oceanic aircraft is good enough. We don't need space-based ADS-B. That's just simply not true. We all need to change. Our aviation system has got to change to meet the challenges of the future. We need real discussions based on facts on how to properly fund this system, modernize this system to address the challenges in the future. Enough with the fake news, enough with the headlines to divide the community. Technology and innovation is evolving at warp speed. Everything seems to be in the air these days. UAVs, commercial space. In 2011, we had 0 commercial launches in this country. In 2016, we had 11. In 2016, we had 11. Last year, we had 22. You see the path? We're on track for over 30 this year and projected to be over 50 launches by 2020. Today, there are 90 orbital launch vehicles in service. These vehicles are launched by governments and commercial organizations across the world, routinely taking place primarily in the United States, which is good news because 8 years ago, we weren't launching at all. Now the United States is taking the lead on it, but Russia, China, Europe, India, and Japan. And basically what they're mostly doing is launching satellites into orbit. But here's a concern. There are over 50 new vehicles being developed for the future. 50. And most of these are designed to tap emerging market like commercial humans in spaceflight. Add that to what we're starting to see, that more spaceports are taking root in the United States. The most recent one was Spaceport Colorado. That happens to be very close to that small, non-busy airport of Denver International. I'm really not quite sure how that's going to work and who's going to have that airspace. Nevertheless, our aviation world of operators and users, manufacturers, regulators, lawmakers need to change our status quo to become nimble and dynamic to address the forever changing and evolving technology and the demands on our airspace. The snail pace speed of modernization will not keep up with the demands of flight. We need to change our current requirement procedures, procurement, acquisition process. We need to change our world, or it will change for us. Let's play a video. We can't wait for our world to change. We need to change it, and we need to find stable, predictable funding. You know, in that video, we see some remarkable things taking place, and we have more than just controllers as a union. We represent what we call our 10th region, Region X. And if you're in the room, please stand up, because I want to thank you for what you do technology-wise and making things happen and change. Keep standing, Kurt, because I didn't introduce you. Kurt Howell is the new RVP for Region X. Please give him a warm round. Our union is stronger for having the brothers and sisters of Region X with us. Here, by our side, at Communicating for Safety, this conference, we count on everyone to contribute to the conversation to ensure we continue to run the safest, most efficient airspace system in the world. and to enhance aviation safety. That job will never be done. We will never say we are there. Check, we're done. Aviation safety is amazing. We're all great. We don't need to do anything new. You know, for the last 8 years, I was on stage praising that we did not have any fatalities on commercial airliners in the United States. Unfortunately, this year is the first time in 9 years that we've had a fatality on a United States airliner. In April, Southwest 1380 had an engine failure. Fragments of the engine cowling struck a window, shattered it, resulting in the death of a passenger. The swift action of the pilots, flight attendants, and controllers were able to save 148 lives. This event continues to remind us how unforgiving mishaps in flight can be. And that's why in aviation we can never rest on our safety record of last year or think we are good enough as an aviation safety system. We must together continue to work every day to enhance the safety of the system and to build the strongest aviation system possible with the highest safety standards, with the finest skilled, trained, and committed workforce, working with the best available real-time technology and modern infrastructures. We must be proactive and strategic and professional in addressing the changes to our national airspace system, and always keep the safety of our national airspace system first and foremost in our minds. And that's what this conference is about. We have 3 days of fruitful discussion, informative panels, educational information, all to focus on the safety of our national airspace system. And we need all of you to help us do this, because we can't do it alone. And of course, we end this year's conference, as we have in the past, with the Archery League Banquet Award ceremony, celebrating the most outstanding examples of professionalism under intense pressure in 2017 and part of 2018. I hope you have a very enlightened, productive, enjoyable week. Once again, welcome to Las Vegas. Let's have a great conference. Thank you very much.